Okay, so Will, you competed this year in bodybuilding BNBF Federation. How did your season go?
So I competed this year with 2 bodybuilding federation, 1 natural one, and 1 non-tested one. So the natural one was the BNBF and the unnatural one was the PCA. So pretty much both quite high up in the ranks in their own respective rights. So the BNBF one, which was the natural one, I placed 3rd at a national level in the men's heavyweight open, and with the PCA I placed 3rd again in the junior category, which was under 23s.
So with the BNBF, is that you at the British overall men's heavyweight?
Yeah.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
So which was the regional one that you won?
Oh, the regional one was the
The Midlands?
Yeah, for both of them, the PCA and the BNBF.
Okay, so the Midlands, you won the overall there.
Yeah.
Then you went to the British finals and took 3rd at the heavyweight division.
Yeah. And at the PCA, I took the overall for one of their regional shows, which was like I think the area is called Kettering. So I went there and won the overall show for that. And at the lead, that led me on to the British finals, and I placed 3rd in the juniors under 23 for that as well.
So you're going up against people, just for the listeners, PCA is a non-tested federation. So you're going up against people using performance-enhancing drugs.
Yeah.
And you won a competition there.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Yeah, which was crazy at the time. So
that's incredible. I mean, the only person, I'm sure there's been other people who have done that.
Yeah.
But the sort of famed story of Ronnie Coleman winning was it the Universe that he won?
Yeah.
When he was still, before he started using PEDs.
Yeah.
He won it natural and no one believed him, right?
Basically, yeah.
So tell me some of your stats. What were some of your stats this year in terms of body weight, height, just to give some reference for people. Anyone watching this on YouTube can see that Will's taking up a lot more space in the camera than I have.
Yeah.
And how old are you?
23 years old.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So talk us through it.
So some of my stats. So before my contest prep, which was my cutting down phase, as you could say, for probably some of the listeners, before my contest prep, I weighed in about 112 kilos. So that was the end of my bulking phase, or you could say gaining phase.
Yeah.
And then over like a 6 months period, I cut down. The lowest I got down to for one of my shows this year was like to 91 kilos. So from like 112 to 91 kilos, so like 21 kg loss in total.
Yeah.
But obviously, that was me like really, really lean. And for someone like me, who kind of enjoys food and stuff, that's not really sustainable for me. So like the lowest I got down to was 91 kilos. And now I'm kind of gone back at a maintenance phase, and my weight has averaged now around like 100 kg mark, 101 kg. So
it's one of those crazy things. I remember when I first competed in bodybuilding in 2014 in the juniors at BNBF, the central one. So
okay, wicked.
So the juniors. And I started at 84 kilos.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'll probably be in contest already at like 78, 79.
Yeah.
Ended up getting down to like 70, 71. And I was like, damn. I always say most people overestimate how much muscle mass they have and underestimate how much body fat they carry. And that was a real eye-opening moment for me. And I'm sure this is not your first rodeo, right?
No, this was my second competitive season as a bodybuilder, or natural bodybuilder, as you could say. So yeah, it was the second time around, so I kind of knew what I was getting myself into, and I knew what was expected.
Were you in the teens then before?
Before I was in the teens, but before I only did the one federation, the BNBF, the natural one. Yeah. So in this second season for my competitive season, I tested out the untested federation, being PCA, like one of the, which many people would say one of the like the number one, you could say, untested amateur federation for bodybuilding in the UK. So
yeah, not too bad then.
Yeah.
So when you were a teen, what was your stage weight then?
My stage weight at a teen, I'm trying to remember this off the top of my head. I can't remember, if I'm honest, but I know that my stage weight at the time for the British finals was like 94 kilos, which was heavier, but looking back now, I wasn't as lean as I was then. If that makes sense. I had less muscle mass then and more body fat, but obviously because that's like the teen category, it's a lot less competitive to like some of the more advanced one, like for example the men's open heavyweight, which I got into this year.
Yeah. So take me back, like, you know, I've seen on your Instagram you started training when you were 15.
Yeah.
Take me back, like, why did you get into training? You know, where were you at when you first started on this journey to, you know, the last 8 years you've built a substantial amount of muscle.
Yeah.
You've got a good potential ahead of you in your bodybuilding career. How did it all begin?
So it all began when I first started training at 15 years old. I just literally walked into my local gym, like got a day session. I was literally just went there by myself, no friends with me, and like, I don't even want to call it a workout because it definitely wasn't a workout. I think I went on the treadmill for like 10 minutes. Then I went on the chest press. I was just doing, you know, like just something you'd expect a beginner to do at the gym. But at the end of that workout, like, obviously I experienced like my first, you could say, pump. And I was just like, wow, like I actually feel, I got a lot of endorphins released. I felt good about myself. And I actually felt at the time that I got swole. So that first workout literally got me hooked. But if you want to know the backstory behind that, basically why I got into it was because at the time, 15 years old, I was in high school and I was a really skinny kid. And like, looking back now, I was definitely had very low self-esteem and like, I'd say like low confidence about myself, just because like I was just like that skinny, scrawny kid in school. So I always subconsciously at the time I was like one day I'm gonna go to the gym and I'm gonna be a lot bigger and do something about my current situation at the time. But probably another aspect as to what got me joining the gym so early at 15 years old, I would say maybe on a subconscious standpoint, but I was a big wrestling fan, like WWE fan. So growing up as a kid, looking at all them jacked guys, I was thinking, you know what, one day I'm going to be like that. So as soon as I turned 15 and I could join my gym membership, literally the day after my birthday, I just went to the gym.
I feel like a lot of guys who grow up around like, you know, wrestling stars or the movie stars, like for the slightly older generation, they probably saw like Stallone, Arnold, Jackie Chan, Van Damme, all these people, and you think, yeah, one day I'm going to be like that. And I think, yeah, your story resonates with me because I started training when I was 17 and I had moves in a pot belly. You know, I was skinny fat sort of guy, fat, moves in a pot belly. And for me, it gave me a level of focus, control, and confidence I'd not experienced before. Yeah. Similar to you, I was hooked straight away. I don't know what it was, just that feeling that I was like, damn, I need to do something in this. And for me, it took me down a whole career of, you know, now what we do with RNT Fitness. But it's undescribable when you look back and you think, like, I'd love to like go back to that moment and be like, watch it and think, what actually happened just there?
Yeah. I mean, exactly as you said, like, it's kind of, I mean, even probably for you, when you look back on your journey, it's probably surreal. Like, if you could literally talk to like the old version of you at the time and like see what you was going through psychology and ask questions, that would be really interesting. But even like from my aspect, what I could say about me is literally the first week I joined gym, I knew exactly what I was going to look like. I knew the amount of strength I was going to get. I don't know if
in the future?
In the future, yeah.
Oh, wow.
I already knew, like, I know I'm going to look like this. I'm going to be able to bench this. Like, I think I joined the gym and I think 4 months after I benched 100 kilos. Seriously, I've got it on video. And like,
so you're 15 years old, you benched 100 kilos?
15 years old, bench 100 kilos. And
man, when you must have known you were going somewhere.
Oh, for sure. And then when I turned 17, like, I had mini goals at the time when I was like super obsessed with it. Yeah. And by the time I think I just turned 17, I benched 140 kilos, which was 3 plates at the time.
Oh my God.
Me and my friend were having a race when we was teenagers. So yeah, I feel like I've always been like that subconsciously. Yeah, so like when I delved into the gym aspect, like them same markers I kind of use.
Were you good at sport?
Naturally, yes, but I wasn't into like one specific sport. I do football and then I do boxing and then I'd stop for a bit and then do whatever and then.
Out of interest, because I'm sure people are wondering, like, what do you bench now?
Oh boy, right. The most I bench is 190 kilos for one.
Oh wow, you're not a powerlifter.
I'm not a powerlifter. I'm strictly a bodybuilder. I won't be tested out that one.
What about with dumbbells?
with dumbbells, like flat or incline.
Whichever, yeah. What was heavier?
Flat, 75.
75?
Yeah, 75 kilo.
For reps, I'm assuming.
For like 4 reps.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm a bodybuilder, so...
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I don't really look into the whole 1 rep max thing. I just...
Yeah, I mean, even for reps, right? You got to get stronger over time.
Oh, for sure.
That's the only real marker of increased muscle mass. But
for sure.
That's very impressive. And like, when that started happening, like when you're benching 100 kilos after 4 months, like what did you notice change in you? Did you feel like you suddenly start developing more confidence? That self-esteem started building up? Like, what was the journey mentally did you experience in those early years? Because that's a lot of weight to be moving around at that age.
Yeah, so obviously aside from the physical advantages that comes from, you know, that comes with the gym, like mentally straight away, like I felt I wouldn't say confidence straight away, because I'd say like confidence from my experience has taken like years to come.
Yeah.
Because you could get confident in one area of your life and you're still not confident in another. So it's like, it's kind of taking time. But yeah, I felt a lot more confidence with myself as opposed to joining the gym, especially the first few years. I felt like mentally I made really big progress on accountability for myself. So like saying I'm going to go to the gym after school, even though I'm coming at home, I'm tired, I'm watching TV, I'm thinking, damn, I really don't want to walk to the gym at the time. And like I'm conquering those small goals. Like I'm after a long day at school, even though some viewers now, people might say that's nothing, but at the time for me, it was like, I've had a long day at school, messing about with my friends after school. I've come home now, I can either chill, play the PlayStation, or I could go to the gym. Yeah. So like them small thing like that.
I think it builds character, right? Especially when you're young. Yeah, when you're like 15, 16, 17, you're building those sorts of character traits. It's only going to set you up for future. Mm-hmm. That's why we talk about generational health with body transformation. When you're 40, 50, 60 years old and you transform your body, and your kids see you do that, and they start taking on those habits, it can set you up for so much success in the future, because you just instill that level of discipline, consistency, accountability that you can't really get from many other things. You can't really cheat this, can you?
Yeah.
You can't cheat natural bodybuilding.
You can't.
There's one way you can cheat it, but
yeah. I mean, yeah, like you just said, with natural bodybuilding or even just general health, someone who just goes to the gym, like you can't cheat it. Like everyone knows, like if me and you stop going to the gym today for like 2 months, one, we won't be looking the same, and our strength will decline. Yeah. Everything that we've built will be on a decline. Like it's like you constantly have to kind of keep on top of it. But to go back to the point of like some of the what I noticed with my early stages of gym, like mentally, accountability was definitely one, but also knowing the effects of hard work. Because I will admit, like when I was a teenager, like I didn't want to work hard. I wanted to shortcut and get the easy route. So like now I started going to the gym, actually practicing a discipline, training hard for a prolonged period of time. It actually taught me, okay, like hard work actually works, as opposed to just thinking I could go to the gym for a week or whatnot and then just take a week off. And then it made me realize, okay, like if you could work hard in this one thing, whatever you do, you could take it out with you in another aspect and apply the same thing, and you'll get a much better result.
Yeah, the physical is the vehicle.
For sure.
What's your why for doing bodybuilding? Because it's one thing going to the gym, it's another thing putting yourself through the paces of contest prep, off seasons, years and years of improvement for your body. It's a bit different to being the average gym goer. Yeah. What's your why that gives you the drive to make it in bodybuilding?
My why, if I was being honest, my why has progressed and changed over the years. So obviously when I first started my journey in bodybuilding, it was more for validation for myself, and obviously the physical attributes. I'd say that was like the first like 3 or 4 years. It was more about like looking in the mirror, being jacked and whatever. But as time's gone on, I've realized like I genuinely like love bodybuilding and actually enjoy it as a sport. And obviously, aside from being competitive, I actually enjoy doing it. And I feel like because I've enjoyed doing it, it's sort of like, it's something I love, so I don't even think about it in any other aspect. I just do it, if that makes sense.
Just enjoy the journey now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when did you think, all right, I'm going to try and step on stage? You did it. How old were you when you was a teen? Because that's below juniors, right?
Yeah. So
I competed in the juniors. That's 21, 24, is it? Or 21?
I think juniors is under 23s.
Under 23, okay.
Yeah, under 23s. And teens is, I think, up until you're 19. So I first competed when I was a teenager, so 19 years old.
What made you do that?
It wasn't actually my decision to compete, believe it or not.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So basically, I had one of my good close friends now. He because we started training at around the same time, and he'd seen the progression I was making, and like at the time, that's when like bodybuilding first started to like be not mainstream, but like sort of on like social media, and like people actually like. Normal people in the gym started thinking, like they wanted to compete. So when that started going on, a lot of people from my area was competing, and then my friend was like, you should actually compete. At the time, I thought he was being sarcastic or something, because I thought, like I've only been training for like 3 years. Like I didn't see myself the way he saw me. So I kind of, when he said that to me, I don't know. It's one of those things like when someone says something to you in like 3 or 4 days time, you think back to it and you actually delve into that idea. It was kind of one of those situations, and then I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna test it out. I was 19 at the time, obviously, so I searched. I didn't know anything about bodybuilding at the time, but I figured out, okay, there's a natural federation. Let me figure out the category which was right for me at the time, which was luckily teenage category. So I just went to my regional one, won that one, and then that was just like a whole avenue in its own into what it is now, if that makes sense.
Yeah, amazing. So let's dive more into like training and nutrition and where you're at with your diet right now, or your training right now. Or maybe even take a step back and go. Firstly, how you set up in off season, and then how you set up in contest prep? Yeah. Just in a general basis, like you personally, what's your approach with training, with nutrition? Like, talk us through a typical day, typical workout week, and then we can kind of work through like how the experience unravels.
Okay, so yeah, I'll give you a breakdown of off season and on season. So off season first, which for someone who's not into bodybuilding or may not know, you could call it sort of like a bulk phase or like gaining muscle phase. And basically, because the way I am and just mentally the way I view things, I like to simplify a lot of things. So like an off season for me is what I do. I'm just in a slight calorie surplus. My training is pretty much just around like basic bodybuilding workouts, but like I'm progressing on strength over time. And what I mean by strength as well, I don't mean like 1 rep max or 5 rep maxes. I mean like on a rep range of like 8 to 12 or 8 to 15 maybe, and I'm progressing on all my lifts. And that to me is the simplified version of an off season for me. So being in a calorie surplus, applying progressive overload in my weight training, and obviously making sure that I'm recovering on a weekly basis.
What's your calorie surplus set up as?
My calorie surplus, so a lot of people, most people in bodybuilding tend to do like the whole 1,000 calorie things, and like I used to do that before.
1,000 calorie what?
There'd be like there are 1,000 calorie, like the whole like dirty bulk.
Oh, what? Yeah.
Like majority of people do that.
What, 1,000 calories above maintenance?
Yeah, like obviously people that aren't like into bodybuilding like that, or who have just joined, they think that. But for me, I only have like a small surplus of like 200 to 500. I don't really like to go above that, just because from experience now, I find like that's the most optimal way of like gaining muscle. And also, obviously you're going to gain body fat, but you're gaining a lot less body fat than, let's say, if I was eating 1,000 calories extra a day that I really don't need to.
So what does that equate to in calories for you?
What's that?
That 250. Well, what is that for you in calories in total?
In total works out to about, so my maintenance calories right now at the moment is like 3,000 calories. Yeah. If I was to for context for viewers, right now I'm on like a maintenance phase, so I'm not bulking or cutting
so what's
down.
that 3,000 calories?
Pardon?
Your maintenance is 3,000?
Yeah, maintenance is 3,000 calories. So like I'm approaching my, you could say, off-seasonal bulk in next month, January. So I'll probably start off in like the 3,300 area.
To be honest, like I thought you were going to say a lot higher.
Nah.
Like I thought you'd have been maintaining it a lot higher.
Nah.
Like to put in, for listeners to put this in context, because what people think is when they lose body fat, let's say they finish up on like 13, 14, 1,500 calories.
Yeah.
They're going to suddenly be eating 25, 3,000 calories in their maintenance phase. But they only weigh 60 kilos. It's like, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Like you're a 100 kilo guy.
Yeah.
Who's, I assume you're in relatively lean condition right now.
Yeah.
Not shredded, but you're in good condition.
Yeah, relative.
And you're on 3,000 calories as a maintenance.
Yeah.
That's just the context applied to that. That's kind of like, makes it feel like it's not going to be as high as you think, right?
Pardon?
It's not going to be as high as you think, the calories.
Yeah, it's not really as high as you think, but also to add context for viewers, like obviously I've done my second bodybuilding season here, so you could really say I'm still kind of like in a reverse phase, because my last competition was 10 weeks ago. So is it maintenance now, or is it like I feel like I'm at the end of that reverse phase? So maybe, I don't know, let's just say if I was to be like really accurate, maybe my maintenance might be like 3,300 calories around there. But like but even then it's still not as maybe some people might think like 4,000 or 5,000 calories, if that makes sense.
And how do you set up your kind of 3 meals a day guy, 4 meals a day, 6 meals a day? What do you prefer?
That's a very good question, because at the start, when I first started like the whole bodybuilding thing, like everyone's seen the videos on YouTube of guys eating 6 meals a day. Like I used to be one of those guys. But then when I really got educated and learned about like the whole calorie aspect sort of thing, like for me, it's more about the amount of calories you get in a day. And what I found that has worked best for me is like 3 to 4 meals a day, as opposed to like eating like 5 or 6 meals. That just isn't ideal for me.
It's funny, I think we all go through that, where we have to go through a period of 6 meals a day, chicken and rice. And then we realise, hold on a sec, I'm going to save so much time if I just eat slightly bigger meals and spread them out a bit more. What about your workouts? How's your training set up? So my training setup is pretty, well, to me, I'd say it's pretty simple, but like I'd say it's fairly basic. Like it's nothing out of the ordinary, but I'd just say one main thing I always emphasize to people that I'm speaking to is like, especially in the bulk or off-season phase, like I'm really emphasizing and focusing on progressive overload. But let's say like a standard chest workout for me, go to the gym, I'd start off first with a compound movement, so like a barbell bench press. So I'll do like 3 sets. Lowest reps I'd probably go to is like 6, 7. Highest reps I'll probably go to is like 12. I'll do that for 3 sets, as heavy as possible. Obviously, keeping in mind that I have good technique and good form. And then second exercise, I'll probably do like another compound movement. So that will probably be like incline dumbbell press, again, 3 sets, 8 to 12 working reps. And then another exercise I usually do on chest days is like a chest machine fly, or maybe a cable variation. And then I might just end off the workout with one more exercise being like the decline barbell bench press, again, 3 sets, 8 to 12 reps, and just gradually progressing over time. So you're a pretty high volume guy. So you train high volume, one body part a day? Is that the way you do it? Yeah.
Sometimes it depends, because right now I'm not really in an off-season proper plan. So at the minute my workouts all over the place. But like usually I'll do like just one body part a day.
Really?
Sometimes I'll do, it depends. Sometimes I might do like the secondary muscle. So like after I finish chest, I might just do a little bit of triceps, or if I do finish doing back.
So how do you set your workouts? Is it the chest, back, bicep, tricep? Like what's a workout week like?
Right now it's just one body part a day.
Okay, so is that literally just chest, back, arms, legs? Yeah,
basically the standard.
Once a week?
Yeah, at the minute once a week. Yeah. But like say if I'm doing like like a bulking phase, I'll like plan out where I'm hitting everything at least twice a week.
Okay, so you'll ramp it up to twice a week. So you're probably just in like a recovery period right now.
Yeah.
But if you're going for muscle growth, then you go for twice a week.
Yeah.
And how do you group your workouts then?
How do I group my workouts? So I try to group my workouts with, like, for example, the same muscle parts that are working in the workout. So for example, like chest, shoulders, triceps. So like
push-pull legs.
Yeah, it's sort of like in the off season, it's sort of like a push-pull legs variation. And because I normally train 5 times a week, so the other two extra days I will give focus and emphasize to weaker body parts. So like whether that's for me, I know going into the off season that will be my back and shoulders, so I'll put in an extra 2 days for them. But also at the end of those workouts, like a back workout, I might chuck in a bit of biceps at the end. Shoulders, I might add in an extra tricep at the end, or anything that I feel that needs touching up.
Nice. What have you found to work well for your weak body parts?
What I found works well for my weak body part is I want to take it back to basics, is literally perfecting the exercise.
Yeah.
But what I mean, like, perfecting the exercise, like, a lot of people probably have the misconception, like, my body part's weak, so I'm going to train it 3 times a week. But if you're training it with, like, really bad technique and, like, not good form and not any good mind-muscle connection, like, it's going to improve, but not to where you can take it. But what's worked for me is literally, like, going back to basics. So even in this maintenance phase, I know that one of my weak body parts at the minute is like my hamstrings and back from a bodybuilding perspective. So even now during this maintenance period, 10 weeks after the show, every time I'm doing a back workout, like, I'm not concerned about weight or progressing or anything like that. I'm making sure that on every exercise, like, I don't want to say textbook form, because there needs to be some form of, you know, some aggression in there, or, you know, some a little bit of that in there. But like, it's basically just building like a really good mind-muscle connection. Because I saw a video somewhere of someone saying, okay, compare your weak body part training to your strongest body part training. So for example, my strongest body part is my chest.
Yeah, you ain't missed the chest there, have you?
Yeah, exactly. So I can literally go to the gym, put a barbell on with no weight, and I've got instant great mind-muscle connection with my chest. I can literally put one plate aside and get a wicked pump. Now, if I do that with, like, let's say my weak body part now, my back, if I try and do that, it's going to take me a lot more time to I'm going to have to do like 3-4 warm-up sets to get the same number of sets on that one chest set, if that makes sense.
Yeah, what I found working well with weak body parts is establishing mind-muscle connection, and then you still need progressive overload. Yeah. But you just got to go slower with it. Yeah. In that, instead of progressing every week, every other week, every 3 weeks, it might be once a month. Yeah. And it's also probably looking at different ways you can hit exercises. Mm-hmm. So maybe the standard variations of back exercises aren't for you. Yeah. Like the standard bodybuilding stuff just isn't for you, and you need to make tweaks to the exercises to, you know, fit your body better. Yeah. You know that? Like for example, when I was more active in my bodybuilding, for me it was always my legs. Yeah. And I used to back squat as much as I could. Yeah. I never really got anywhere. Yeah. All I ended up with was developing my hips and my lower back, because I got long legs and a short torso. So for me, back squats, I'm never really going to hit the quads that well. Yeah. When I stopped back squatting and I started hack squatting, leg pressing, Smith machine front squatting, all of a sudden my legs grew. So exactly. It's like I needed to drop the attachment to certain exercises. Yeah. Try new ones, establish form and mind-muscle connection, and then go for it. And then when I do those exercises before every set, I would squeeze that muscle as hard as possible to establish that connection, and then try and translate that connection to the heavy overload. Yeah. And over time, it would just get easier and easier, and it would become like you mentioned on your barbell bench press, where it's like you do it and you're on, right? Exactly. And I think if you do that over months and months and months and months and months, now this is the other thing, weak body parts, it takes time. Like, it takes time. So you just got to give time. Let time do its course. Yeah. It will take probably a couple of years. Yeah, for sure. Agreed. That's really interesting. With the have you been told that by judges? Or is that more just like you looking at yourself thinking?
I've been told that by judges this year. So like all the judges were like, you're fairly balanced, but the only thing missing from your physique, if there was like being harsh towards me, was back thickness particularly, and just a little bit more, not necessarily development, but like this might be just to getting down more leaner, but just a bit more detail in the hamstrings. But mainly it was just overall back thickness. So that's in this maintenance period, that's what's my focus. I've still been training other body parts, but like when I'm doing back days, I'm being extra conscious on my workout, the type of exercises that I'm doing, the type of reps I'm doing, and just being really conscious on that aspect.
Yeah. I think for you as well, because you're only 23, back thickness tends to come with time as well. Like,
exactly.
It's one of those things where as you've been training for longer, you get that mature muscle look.
Yeah.
So I think that will just continue to come with your next off season, especially.
Yeah, I agree, to be fair.
How's your condition then? Like, how did you find the journey of getting into shape? Because I think you're going to really good condition for this year.
Yeah.
How's that journey for you?
So context for viewers again, I chose to have a coach this year going into this second season of my bodybuilding prep. A guy who's very well experienced, Adrian Gray, look him up. He's competed at the highest level of natural bodybuilding as well, being the WNBF a couple years ago. So it was he's really knowledgeable. So he helped prep me for this year, and like I found the journey to be a lot simpler than the first time I did it. In the aspect of, just maintaining the calorie deficit. Obviously not trying to really force the progressive overload because you're in a calorie deficit, so you're not really going to grow any muscle. But in terms of maintaining the muscle, being in the calorie deficit, and we didn't really like push for conditioning. Like it sort of just came by itself over time. But of course, keeping in mind that I was on top of my diet, my training, and just the general activities to suit that look.
What you like towards the end of a diet?
I will admit, the end of the diet to the start of the diet was completely different.
Yeah.
Obviously, like I feel like for everyone, like your body lets you get rid of certain amount of fat, and then the fat that you actually need to function, that last bit to get off, is different.
Yeah.
It's different. But yeah, at the end of that
did your glutes come in?
Yeah, glutes came in, but that last two or 3 weeks, it was every day I had to be on.
Yeah.
Like switched on mentally, otherwise I'd let it get to me. But
yeah, I think it's one of the most character building things you can do.
Sure.
I think there's a difference between when most people get to like beach ready for the first time in their life, it is a hard experience, right?
Yeah.
You have to change so many bad lifestyle habits for years, and you got to push yourself in a way you've never done before. But when you go from like okay shape year round to like beach shape, it's pretty easy, right?
Yeah.
And when you go from beach shape to bodybuilding stage with shredded glutes, that's like a whole different ballgame, isn't it?
A whole different.
And it's like the recovery from it is just so, it can take a while, and it can be pretty hard. Like this year, for example, this was my 4th time getting shredded. The previous 3 times, I ended up at like 71, and each time I looked better and better. Like, kind of like what you said there. It's like you look better each time. So I competed in middleweights.
Okay.
So I looked better each time. This time I got to like 71, and I was like, look, I look pretty good, but I've got time on my side. What would it look like if I got underneath 70?
Oh, yeah.
And it was only because one of my colleagues said to me, he said, yeah, you're shredded, but you'd be shredded at 69, 68, 69. I was like, oh man, I can't stop now, can I? And I dug into those extra few kilos, and like, I got a look I'd never seen before.
Yeah.
But the cost of it, I'm like, man, I wouldn't recommend it for anyone else. Like the cost of it for me was like, it took a long time to recover mentally from that, because it was dark.
Yeah.
It was dark.
Like, again, for context for viewers, like right now, the last show for me was 10 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's only now, 10 weeks later, I feel like I've recovered from that.
Yeah.
In terms of just mentally and physically. I feel like 10 weeks post-show, being that lean, getting to that level of body fat, and I mean, recovery for me was basically non-existent for them last few weeks, just because every day was like getting down to a certain level of body fat. But like, that just shows you the cost.
Yeah.
That 10 weeks later, only now I'm recovering mentally and physically from it.
How did you find how did you find the recovery period at the beginning? Like, did you have any issues? Has it been quite easy reversing up in terms of body weight, slow and steady, or?
Yeah. It's been pretty much slow and steady. Don't get me wrong, the day of the show, it was just, I just had to eat.
Yeah.
I just had to eat. So like, I had like a day or two of that, and then afterwards it was more, for me, it's not really physical, because I'm not like, yes, I do bodybuilding, but I'm not like attached to, oh my gosh, I have to be shredded, I have to maintain this look. Like, I'm not. That's
really important, by the way.
Yeah, I'm not attached to that at all. For me, the biggest part is the mental aspect. So going into context for that, in like the last month going into the British final, like, one of my biggest passions is training. Like, just forget bodybuilding, just being in the gym and just training. And like, I felt like the last 4 weeks leading into that bodybuilding prep, I sort of pay the cost of my passion of just getting it done, as opposed to going in there enjoying it. Like, by the end of it, if I'm being honest, I just hated training. Like, I got in the gym and I just wanted to, like, there was no enjoyment there for me. Like, because that enjoyment aspect and fun aspect of something that I really love and really enjoy got out of it. It was kind of like,
going through the motions, aren't you?
I'm kind of going through the motion. I'm like, it got like, I was telling my mum at the time, I was like, I don't even care about the result of the British final. Like, I just want this to be over, as opposed to that. So like, even during this recovery phase, it's not till like, I feel like even the first month after the show, like, I didn't enjoy training at all.
It takes a while, man. It takes a while.
Like, mentally, I just didn't enjoy training. Obviously, I was still training, but it was like, I didn't love it. It's only now, 10 weeks later, where I'm like, okay, now I'm back. Like, I'm doing what
it's weird what happens, like, when you, I don't know, it'd be good to get your experience on this, but what I find is, going into the show, you're just pumped on adrenaline towards the end, right?
Basically.
And you use that to fuel your training, because you're like, I need to try and maintain my strength as hard as I can. Yeah. Obviously, it's going to diminish, but you're just thinking about maintenance. And then when you come out the other side, because you haven't got that adrenaline, you realise, firstly, how screwed up you are. You've got no aggression in the gym left.
Yeah.
You're just approaching the sets like, it's going through the motion. Yeah. You also realise how much, you just feel weaker, right? Yeah. You can't even get yourself excited to lift those weights, because you're like, I'm gonna injure myself if I do this. And that drive to train takes a long time to come back. And you feel like your strength is gone, and you're lifting lighter weights. Everything just feels heavy.
Yeah.
It's just not enjoyable, is it?
Yeah. I mean, my perspective on that is the exact same as you said. Obviously, at the start of, let's say, like 2-3 weeks into your prep or cut or whatever, like, you're excited, you're like, I'm gonna be shredded. Mentally you're there. Physically, you're not there. But at the end of that, physically you're there, you get the look, but mentally it's like, you're like, what am I doing this for again? Do you know what I mean? So,
how long did you hold shredded? Because you were competing in the British final, so Midlands was when?
Midland was the 21st of August. The British final was in October the 2nd.
All right, so were you as lean in the Midlands, or? What was the weight difference between the two?
The weight difference between the two. So for the Midlands, I believe I was like 97 kilos. And for the British finals, I was like 90, 91, 92
you took off 6 kilos?
Yeah.
And you won the overall at Midlands at 97?
Yeah.
So you must have just won that on pure size then.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So you just carried on dieting with the other 6 kilos, but how come you didn't get in 91 kilos for the Midlands?
I don't know. What do you mean?
So you almost you got to 97 for the Midlands.
Yeah. But
you ended up at 91 for the British. Why didn't you go for 91 at the Midlands? Or did you think you could win the Midlands? Why?
Basically, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, because what my philosophy is, and what my coach's philosophy is, like, forget, like some people will say, oh, I'm 10 weeks out for the show. But to me, really, you're 6 weeks out from the show. A month, like 4 weeks from the show, you could really gauge as to whether you will actually be shredded on show day or not. So like basically, I think I was like, this was like 6 weeks before the show. And I was like, I was hovering around like 99 to 98 kilos. But my condition was really good for some reason. And my coach was like, yeah, like, you look sharp. Like, let's not push it too much because if you do qualify for the Britain, by the end of it, we don't want you dead. Feeling there's no point going guns blazing for the qualifier show in August, knowing that you still have to diet down till October. So it was kind of like, it was risky, but it paid off. But it was sort of that approach.
Yeah, fair enough. What's the game plan for 2023 then?
So the game plan for 2023 is to have another full proper off season again. So bulking, gaining muscle, using progressive overload in the gym, and just being in the calorie surplus. Time wise, I don't. From my experience, like, I feel like you need to be in a calorie surplus and in a progressive overload phase for quite a long time to actually see a good level of return. I've never been the type of person to say, oh, I'm only bulking up for 6 months. Nah, for me, it's like for you to see really good results, I believe for like a year or maybe 18 months for me. So I'll probably opt for the 18 months just because.
I was going to say, I reckon with the age you're at, you could do some serious damage on stage if you spend the next 2.5 years building, and then you come in, 2023, you come in 2025, summertime, and see how you look, because I think you do some serious damage with 2 and a bit years of sort of building in off season.
Yeah. So that's basically my plan.
That could be pretty scary.
I wanna. Well, originally the plan was I wanted to compete again in 2 years' time, but like I'm actually thinking of this from like a long-term point of view, like especially because I actually like want to go into the higher levels of bodybuilding when I'm only 23 now, but I'm targeting around like when I'm like 28, like I reckon like that's when I'll be like foot in the door first into actual proper bodybuilding. So for me, I don't even mind if I take like 2 years off now to just build.
I think it's the best thing to do, because otherwise you're going to spend the cost of doing a show is not just the 4 or 5 months you diet, it's the 3-4 months after as well. So it's basically a whole year you lose, right?
Yeah,
you lose a whole year because the last 3 months of off season you're not really doing much, you're just maintaining. So you lose a whole year. You don't want to. You want to. The longer you can delay that gratification, the better your chances of going to the pro ranks are, which I think you've got a good shot at doing, right? You bring in condition, you bring in exercise, and you've got a real good chance of hitting the pros. You just need time on your side and just delay that urge to be like, screw it, I'm going to diet and see what it looks like. Because it's fun to diet, isn't it? It's like, I see what I can look like.
I'm actually the opposite.
You know that whole, a lot of bodybuilders fall into that trap though, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if you can delay that time, that lever, and leverage your time as much as possible, I think you're in for some good gains.
For sure. But yeah, like you said, it's that thing. Like a lot of people, like once they get shredded or when they step on stage for the first time, like the months go past after, and they're like, "Why am I not shredded anymore?" You, especially if you want to do something like this long term, you kind of have to figure out your whys for doing things, if that makes sense. But if you've got that in order, you can kind of navigate whether what you want to do. So in my instance, for example, like I'm looking at bodybuilding as like, by the time I'm like 28, 29, like I want to be competitive within the pro ranks, you know, like being like the highest level of bodybuilding as well, like the IFBBs. So I'm kind of looking at it from that aspect. But luckily for me, as I mentioned previous to this episode, it's weird, right? Because first you start the gym, you're so concerned about the physical things, but then once you've, I don't know, for some people, once you get that desired look, it's not really about that. It's more about actually yourself. And for me, it's kind of more like just mental goals now, as opposed to just mentally for me. That's the main thing.
Amazing. You said superstars. I saw you wearing trousers the other day which are like superstars are made in the off season.
Oh yeah.
For people who are listening who, you know, they might have gotten in shape for the first time, but they're not quite satisfied with their physique.
Yeah.
What's that statement mean for them?
That statement means for them is it's basically what it says. Superstars are made in off season. Like, don't get me wrong, being on season and ready for the stage 3, 4 weeks, 12 weeks out leading to a show, everyone's motivated, everyone's giving it 100% and giving it everything in the gym. Okay, but what about 6 months after the show? What's your training like then? What's your mental approach to, you know, actually progressing your physique? Compare that to being 10 weeks out from a show. If it's not the same, you aren't going to progress as much as you think you're going to do. So for me, I've always been someone to like take my off season like probably more serious than my on season, because I know by the time on season comes, the only thing I have to show is what I've worked for in my off season. So I better make sure that what I'm doing when I'm being in the off season actually pays off, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's easy to do this when you've got a prize in front of you, photo shoot, beach holiday, wedding, and anyone's motivated, right?
Yeah.
But when it's, you know, icy cold in a December morning, you got no goals,
extra body fat on you as well, and you can't really see the progress being made. Are
you still going to hit the gym?
Yeah,
it's a lot. Still going to eat well, still going to sleep early. All these things, right?
There's a lot less motivation in that aspect to, you know, progress your physique than when you're, I don't know, like 8, 9, 7% body fat and you can see everything. And like,
speaking of like seeing everything, when you got to the British finals, before the British finals, did you do anything with your peak week, interestingly, or how did you approach your peak week? Your front loader, back loader? Did you just keep things the same? Did you carry on dieting? What was your approach?
So peak week, we followed my coach's protocol, which was just like, I'd say it's just like probably what standard bodybuilders do. So that obviously at the start of the week, they go keto, 0 carbs, just completely deplete the muscles of glycogen, and then we backloaded 2 days 2 days before the show. Okay. So we kind of just did that approach, so nothing too...
So you went low in the start of the week, hit a heavy day, and then looked at how you looked and then adjusted accordingly?
No, so because we'd done obviously prior shows, we kind of knew what would work and what would not work. But for the British finals, we just basically did I think it was Monday to Thursday. We'd literally just had 0 carbs. It was just protein sources just to deplete the muscles of glycogen. And training, the only thing that changed in training that week was like I wasn't really going like crazy heavy because it's the week of the show. Also I'm like got 0 energy. I'm not going to progress overload on anything. So it was more like depletion workouts, a lot of high reps. Yeah, deplete the muscle of glycogen. And then I think Friday and Saturday, we carb loaded going into the show on Sunday.
How heavy did you go carb loading?
Not that much, you know. Not really that much.
You don't need that much to fill out?
Yeah, not that much. Because naturally, like, my body type is...
quite full.
Yeah, I'm always full and round. So, like, what we found that was best for me is better to put in as minimum as possible and have as much condition and lines as possible than to... I don't know, to just even go at a level where it's like the level of carbs that I think is okay, than to run the risk of spilling out and things. So we've always gone for not going crazy on the carb load.
Yeah, it's interesting. What are you most excited for coming up then?
Oh, I'm most excited for... Damn, I kind of have to think about that. But just going off the top of my head, I just want to develop, get better in the off season, just so for the next time that I do go on stage, like I want to kind of do it for me. Yeah. Because I know what my weak points are, I know what I need to work on. So working on that, I know will give me a huge level of satisfaction for the next time I go on stage. But aside from that, just try and get better in any aspect that I can.
As speaking to some of the listeners who maybe early on in their transformation journey, what's one piece of advice you can give them?
One piece of advice I could give there, it sounds so cliche, but it's just take one day at a time.
Yeah.
Let's just take one day at a time. That's one thing that really did help me at the start of my journey, because although I joined the gym and I was really skinny, like, yes, I kind of knew what I wanted to look like in the future. Yes, I wanted to know what type of level of strength I wanted to possess in the future, but I still took one day at a time to, you know, one, enjoy the workout, and secondly, just for more of on a mental aspect. Like, if you're too concerned about, you know, thinking, I want to lose body fat now, or I want to look like this now, or I want to have this level of strength now, it's like you're not optimizing that day. Like, what can you do today at 100% that one you can feel satisfied about? But that's one piece of advice I'd say to someone that's early on in their career. Don't get too concerned about the future, or, you know, in this day and age of social media where everyone looks great on Instagram, and like you feel like you're not there yet, but that your time will come. Just make sure that every day, with every task you're hitting, you're getting closer and closer to that future. So try and optimize that 100% as you can. So yeah, I was just curious to ask you, because I know you recently turned vegan this year, so I kind of just want to know, just being curious, you know, from the whole bodybuilding standpoint, because obviously you said yourself as well, you've competed before. So how have you found that transition now in terms of like your nutrition and supplement, and how has it affected like your training? Like, are you like, because there's a lot of myths and misconception when it comes to, you know, to people who want to turn to train vegan. So what's your experience?
I appreciate you asking. I've been dabbling with veganism for a couple of years, but what always sort of put me off it was fitness and bodybuilding. I was like, I don't know any vegans that are bodybuilders. Like, we just don't know many, right? Yeah. And I thought, am I going to lose all my gains? Am I going to still be able to get the same results? And it kept coming in my head, but at the same time, I had this ethical dilemma all the time of like, what I'm doing right now is sitting right with me. Yeah. And then it got to like sort of middle of last year, 2021, where I was like, right, let me pull meat, fish, and dairy. Meat and fish out. So I dropped meat and fish, and I just replaced that one meal I had with tofu or tempeh or something like that, because I was basically doing eggs for lunch, eggs for breakfast, protein bowl for afternoon, and then chicken and rice for dinner. So I just replaced the last meal. Yeah. And nothing changed. So I was like, oh, okay, so this is okay. So I'm okay without meat. And then I thought, I want to drop the eggs and drop the dairy. Mm-hmm. So I thought, how can I prove to myself that I can still get the same results? So I thought, let me just get shredded. Yeah. Let me see if I can get lines on my ass. Yeah. And that was it. And then from January 1st, I flipped the switch and I documented the road to vegan shredded. Yeah. And that's when, I don't know if you've seen like some of the stuff.
I checked it out.
I got into the best condition I've ever got into. Wow. I got lines all over my ass.
That's how you know you're shredded as well, because getting fat off your glutes, for people who don't know, or who have not got to that level of body fat, is the hardest thing to get, especially when you're trying to get to that level of condition. Like, there's so much stubborn body fat there, but to emphasize your point, saying that you basically got level of condition there, shows that, especially while being vegan as well, that's pretty impressive, to be fair.
Because when I competed before, the judges used to always say to me, like, you're the most conditioned guy here. Yeah. Because I always knew I was always going to shows like I can bring the best condition. Yeah. I know I've got the most size. Like, there's people, I can't control that. There's only so much size I know I'm going to build. Yeah. I can't control that. If someone turns up who's way bigger than me, whatever. Yeah. But I can always control my condition. So I always rested on the fact that I could bring conditions. So I wanted to show that I could do that this year. Did that. He was hitting PRs in the gym. So I was like, all right, so my strength hasn't gone down. I haven't lost muscle mass. I've got into the best shape of my life. I think I've ticked all those boxes, and I think I've broken all those myths. Yeah. So I've stayed there, and I've got. For me, there's no going back now, to be honest. Yeah.
So would you say, like, along the lines of being vegan, would you say that it's more of like a misconception and a myth among the general population, a lot of the things? Because you've clearly proved that, one, you can get shredded while being vegan, and clearly, like, you're still making progress in your training. So would you say, like, a lot of the misconceptions around being vegan and, you know, gaining
100%.
muscle is more so just mental and psychological as opposed to actually being physical, because you've clearly proved physical you can do it.
I think it's just inbuilt into our culture and society. If you think back to like the 80s, Arnold said to Stallone in a movie or something like, "Oh, you punch like a vegetarian."
Oh yeah.
It's like, you know, from a young age you see this thing of like, oh, you can't be strong, can't build muscle as vegan. I remember when I first started training about 10 years ago, I was eating a kilo of meat a day because I thought that's what you needed to do. Just before, like, now the education is so much more available. Back then it wasn't as much. It was more sort of, you're reading things on websites, you don't know if it's true or not, you're reading muscle magazines. So I was eating a kilo of meat a day, and there was no real studies on veganism because there's not as many people. Anyone who was a vegan was probably like some hippie who doesn't even train anyway, so you're not going to get any studies on that. Now we're seeing more and more longitudinal data which is showing that so long as protein intakes match, so long as training intensities matched, the gains in strength and muscle are equivalent, whether you're omnivorous or whether you're vegan.
Okay, interesting.
So it actually doesn't matter so long as protein and intensity. Those are the two things. You have to actually train hard. And you have to keep your protein intake high. And the other myth is like, I need to have loads of protein. The reality is, most research shows 1.6 to 1.8 grams per kilo at the low end is all you need. I prefer to keep my cover my bases and stick to like 2 grams, 2.2, just to like cover my bases. But we know we only need like 1.6 to 1.8. So once you got that covered, which is very easy to do on a vegan diet, then you're kind of set. And you know, my protein sources come from tofu, tempeh, edamame, beans, lentils, legumes, protein powder, the ON bars sometimes.
So do you use like the plant protein ones as well?
So the protein powder, the bars they have, they're really good. So it's been really easy, and I generally just lowered my protein intake over the years. I think longevity wise, health wise, like I'm kind of like, my bodybuilding days are over. I don't have any goals to build more muscle or bulk up anymore. For me, it's like just staying in shape. I got into Muay Thai recently, so I'm trying to expand like my like I'm more interested in fitness, flexibility, and just sort of overall health as opposed to bodybuilding. I've just got to that point where the risk reward for the next level for me, like I'm not naturally strong. Like for me, it took me about 4 years to bench 100 kilos. I got 4 months. I'm not naturally a strong guy. And I got long arms as well. Like, so strength doesn't come easy to me. Like when I was growing up, 100 meter time was 17.3. So I'm not powerful, I'm not strong. So for me, it was like, got to where I got to train hard for over 10 years. I think I hit my sort of potential with as far as I wanted to take it personally, because I know there's always more you can do. Right? So now I've got to the point where like I'm happy to stay in good shape year round and explore other avenues. The road to vegan shredder is my last rodeo. I'll always get shredded every few years because that's different to bodybuilding. Bodybuilding for me is that bit, but really it's the off season. It's the off season, right? Getting shredded for me is the mental challenge. It's using the physical transformation to take your life to the next level. But it's also because we work with so many members in my company, RNT. It's empathy. It's empathy building. Like every time I do it, I know what they're going through at the absolute extreme. If I can go to the extreme, I can empathize along every single element of that spectrum. So it gives me more tools in my toolbox. So I do it for those reasons rather than anything else. And every time I do it, I try and add a new constraint. So this time it was veganism. As my sort of constraint to do it around. Next time, I don't know what it'll be, but we'll come up with some challenge.
That's interesting, and obviously you've obviously done your bodybuilding journey and to like be in good shape now that you are, and even like showing that being vegan as well, that you can kind of maintain the look you have is not impossible to a lot of people out there that are probably thinking, I'll probably lose my gains or whatnot. So that's quite interesting.
And I think, and the message I always give is like, I'm not like preaching, you need to turn vegan, I just think, look, if you want to eat a little bit less meat, great. If you're worried that eating less meat is going to ruin your fitness gains, don't worry about that. Like you can still do your bit for the planet and also continue to make gains in your fitness journey.
At least you're someone who's another example though that shows that it can be possible and kind of breaks those myths and misconception, which is probably has a bigger impact as opposed to you just saying, "Oh, everyone turn vegan."
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, so
you'd rather lead by example.
Exactly.
Yeah, appreciate you asking.
Yeah, that was interesting. I actually wanted to know a bit about that. So
cool.
Yeah,
amazing. Thanks so much for coming on the podcast. Really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for having me, bro.